According to the Department of Homeland Security, the Migrant Caravan at the southern border is harboring more than 500 criminals. They say the group is not predominantly women and children, it's mostly young men, and they're putting women and children at the front to gain positive media coverage. They've also stated they received intelligence that the Migrant Caravan was planning on storming through the southern border, so they actually shut down the San Ysidro border, which is one of the busiest ports of entry, to install barricades. Now, do we just believe whatever DHS says? No, of course not. But it is an official statement, so you can choose to trust it or not. However, we did hear from a Mexican journalist just the other day who said there were many criminals that were in this group. Today, there's a lot to talk about. We also have a judge denying Trump's new asylum executive order. And I have a question. Do these people who are coming actually have a claim to asylum? Because based on the evidence and an article from Vox, it seems like the answer might actually be no. But before we get into all of that, please head over to patreon.com/Timcast if you want to support my work. Patrons are the backbone of the content I create, so if you like these videos and you want to see more, then head over to patreon.com/Timcast and become a patron today. From Fox News, Migrant Caravan at U.S. border is harboring more than 500 criminals, Homeland Security claims. The revelation was made during a conference call with reporters, with officials asserting that most of the caravan members are not women and children. They claim the group is mostly made up of single adult or teen males, and that the women and children have been pushed to the front of the line in a bid to garner sympathetic media coverage. All legal options are on the table, and we have been negotiating with all our partners in Central America with ways to deal with the caravan, one official said when asked about reports that the U.S. government is planning to make asylum seekers remain on the Mexican side of the border while their claims are being reviewed. Homeland Security officials say there are currently 6,000 people in Tijuana waiting to be processed at the San Ysidro border crossing, with more on the way. Those who have already entered the border city in the past few days have been met with icy reception. The group's members are also coming to the realization that they could be stuck on that unwelcoming side of the fence for months if they try to enter America the legal way. Adding to the increasing certainty of the group's situation, the U.S. Border Patrol temporarily closed all northbound lanes at the San Ysidro port of entry early Monday morning as the U.S. continues to position additional port hardening materials. Unfortunately, some members of the caravan are purposely causing disruptions at our border ports of entry. Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen posted on Twitter, "There is a legal and illegal way to enter the U.S. We have deployed additional forces to protect our border." Given the increasing attention of the caravan and the insistence by top U.S. officials that the migrants will not simply be allowed to enter the U.S., the crowds in Tijuana reportedly may end up having to wait 6 months for asylum claims to be heard. There are protests right now in Mexico, with residents of Tijuana calling this an invasion. We're also hearing now from DHS there are 6,000 migrants on the southern border. Recently, it was reported there was only about 3,000. The number continues to grow, and I can only imagine that tensions will continue to escalate. But let's take a look at what's going on with this claim that they planned on storming through the southern border. From the Washington Examiner, border security beefed up in San Diego after reports caravan migrants planned to run through traffic lanes, DHS. Homeland Security officials said the decision to halt all incoming traffic from Mexico into San Diego at the nation's largest border crossing overnight was based on reports some migrants from Central America planned to storm through one of its ports. Late last night, we started to get info about an incursion at our ports of entry, attempting to run by our ports of entry, a senior DHS official told reporters during a call Monday afternoon. The information came from multiple sources, including individuals in the Mexican government, the official said. Both governments enhanced security, adding more personnel to the area, including on the Mexican side. Earlier this morning, U.S. Customs and Border Protection shut down all vehicular traffic flowing north from Mexico into California at the country's busiest border crossing and diverted staff to help bulk up the infrastructure and security there in anticipation of the arrival of thousands of migrants traveling in caravans from Central America. We've already heard that several migrants were arrested for trying to illegally enter the United States from various points of entry. We've seen photos and videos of the migrants climbing on the border fence. Now Donald Trump has posted a photo saying those photos and videos are old and they've reinforced the barrier. In a photo on Twitter, Donald Trump tweeted, "The fake news is showing old footage of people climbing over our ocean area fence. This is what it really looks like. No climbers anymore under our administration." And you can see this photo showing the barbed wire is all over this fence. Now, my understanding is that this has been welded to the fence, and as of right now, there are not people trying to climb over it. The other big news we have comes after Donald Trump changed the rules for applying for asylum. He said if you enter the country illegally, you will not be able to apply for asylum. But we're now hearing that a judge has issued a temporary restraining order on this executive order. From the Daily Caller, judge stops Trump's asylum ban as Migrant Caravan nears. A federal judge in California issued a temporary restraining order against the Trump administration's new asylum rules early Tuesday morning. U.S. District Court Judge John Tiger said that Congress extended asylum eligibility to all comers, and the president may not impose contrary terms. Whatever the scope of the president's authority, he may not rewrite the immigration laws to impose a condition that Congress has expressly forbidden. They say federal law provides that any alien who is physically present in the United States or who arrives in the United States irrespective of such alien status may apply for asylum in accordance with applicable statutes. Taken together, Tiger said that the Refugee Treaty and the plain language of the law indicate that Congress never meant to deny asylum claims from illegal aliens. Considering the text and structure of the statute, as well as the interpretive guide of the UN protocol, reveals Congress's unambiguous intent. The failure to comply with entry requirements such as arriving at a designated port of entry should bear little, if any, weight in the asylum process. The restraining order will remain in effect until December 19th. The overnight order followed arguments in the dispute just 12 hours prior. And I think this is a tough decision. First, you have to realize you have 10,000 or more people coming to the US border who want to claim asylum, many of whom do not qualify for asylum. I believe it would be fair to say that there are a decent amount of people who are trying to take advantage of the asylum system so they can come here illegally, then claim asylum and get to stay here for a certain amount of time. We saw an article from Vox where some people interviewed said they just wanted Buffalo Wild Wings. Some said they missed their PlayStation, they were deported before and they want to come again. So clearly not all of these people are actually seeking asylum. There are some, however, who are seeking asylum, who are escaping gang violence. One interviewee said that their child would be killed by the gangs for not joining and they had no choice but to leave. Those people are actually deserving of asylum, and this is the big challenge. Trump's ruling is trying to stop people from taking advantage of the system. However, you have to understand that when people are fleeing dangerous cartels or gangs, they're probably just going to try and get here by any means necessary and then apply for asylum. It really does make sense. But because you have so many people coming here, many of whom are simply economic migrants, the system can't actually process those who are in need of real asylum, and thus, this is the big challenge. So first, let's take a look at the criteria for asylum and then take a look at what some of these people actually want by coming to the US. From the website Political Asylum USA, I'm not sure if this is the best source, but it's one of the best breakdowns I could find. They say qualifying for asylum. A person can qualify for asylum if he or she has a reasonable fear of future persecution on account of race, religion, national origin, political opinion, or membership in a social group. They say the applicant must show that the reason the persecution that is being done is because of being in one of the 5 protected grounds: race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or membership in a social group. This can cause confusion because sometimes a person is persecuted for multiple reasons. In situations like these, the applicant must show that one of the 5 protected grounds is one of the primary reasons for persecution. If the government decides that being in one of the 5 protected grounds is only a minor cause of persecution, asylum will not be granted. The asylum applicant must show that the persecution is done either by the country's government or by people who the government cannot or will not control. Typically, showing the direct involvement of a government official is enough to show that the government is responsible. While that list is not exhaustive, you can get a general idea of what they're looking for. But this is an article from Vox. They say, why are Caravan members leaving their home countries? Caravan members have given journalists a variety of answers to this question. Some of them have pointed to concerns for their safety. One woman told the AP's Sonia Perez D that she'd been in hiding after a local gang threatened to kill her because they'd mistaken a tattoo of her parents' names for a symbol of a rival gang. Another, traveling with her husband and 2 sons, told the LA Times that after her 16-year-old son refused to sell drugs for a gang, they were going to kill him or kill us. And I think it's fair to say that these are actually decent reasons to claim asylum. Now, Mexico has also offered asylum, so I don't know if these people would actually be eligible in the US if they've already been given an offer of asylum in a neighboring country where they would be safe. However, some are simply economic migrants, they say. Others have cited poverty and the inability to support their families on $5 a day. This is not grounds for asylum. A few are trying to get back to America after being deported to return to their families and the lives they built. Quote, I miss my PlayStation, one Caravan member told LA Times. I miss Buffalo Wild Wings. They say in US law, there's a firm distinction between asylum seekers and economic migrants who are looking for a job. But the division in real life isn't always so neat, and few of the people trying to come to the US from the Northern Triangle right now fit just one of those boxes. Many people are leaving because they fear for their lives if they stay, because they're being threatened by gangs and the local government is either complicit or absentee. They're seeking asylum even if their circumstances may not fit neatly into the definition of persecution in U.S. asylum law. There is a big difference between an economic migrant who wants Buffalo Wild Wings, who wants to find a better job, and those who are actually having their lives threatened. And because of the people in this group who are simply looking for jobs, and I'll say it again, Buffalo Wild Wings, the actual asylum seekers are being displaced because of this. Now, I think it's fair to say that most people should probably take asylum in the closest country they can, which makes sense. If they're in Mexico and Mexico is offering asylum, they should take it. To the people who are refusing this and coming to the US, I think that's a bit unfair, and I think it's fair to criticize them. Obviously, the United States is an awesome place, and a lot of people want to come here. We have a group of around 10,000 trying to come here. But simply because we're the best doesn't mean you can apply for asylum here and reject it somewhere else. Mexico is not that bad. A lot of people think it's worse than it really is. Mexico's actually rather wealthy. And Tijuana, Mexico City, they're actually really nice places. There's a misconception about what it's actually like in Mexico. So a lot of people want to come to America because, yes, it is safer, yes, it is wealthier, you will make more money, but that's just not how the system is supposed to work. You can't reject asylum and then just try and get it in America because America is better. If you're trying to stay safe, if you want to avoid the threats to your life, Mexico is providing that to you. But then again, we have a lot of people who are simply economic migrants who are not actually being threatened. They just want PlayStation. They want comfort and luxury. And I can respect that, but I'm sorry, that's not grounds for just coming to the US or trying to seek asylum. I think Donald Trump is trying to avoid those who exploit the system. If you don't deal with the people who are trying to exploit the system, how do you actually help those who need asylum? I do believe that we, as a wealthy, safe nation, should be providing asylum to those in need. Absolutely, 100%. But that means we need to make sure we're not being taken advantage of. That means if Mexico is offering asylum to people, they should probably take it and not just try to come here, because in my opinion, it's kind of suspect. Look, I know it's great here, but if you're going to be safe there, you should take it. But let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm sure a lot of people are going to agree, disagree. How do you feel about the Migrant Caravan? Do you believe the Department of Homeland Security when they say it's mostly young men and they're harboring criminals? Comment below, we'll keep the conversation going. You can follow me on Twitter at Timcast. Stay tuned to new videos every day at 4 p.m. And I'll have more videos on my second channel, youtube.com/TimcastNews at 6 p.m. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all next time.